the law firm of Shihab Burke, and with me.
Brian Burke, also from the law firm of Shihab Burke. I got to figure out which way I turn, Sam, so I can look at you like it's like I'm looking at you.
Yeah,
That's the sort of thing that I have fun with, for the record.
well, that's funny.
Right, Sam?
That's right.
Yeah,
Absolutely, Brian.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
high five.
So,
Anywho,
yes, immigration reform, and one thing I learned about politics is never assume anything. Logic does not follow. We said, "Are you kidding me?" Immigration reform. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but to even have a conversation on
it's
immigration
worth having
reform,
a conversation right now. And you're right. We were saying, we don't think anything can happen here. But all it needs is a little bit of a linchpin.
yes,
A little bit of something to force some people's hands, and well,
yes.
here we are.
So we have government shutdown on the horizon being extended 2 months at a time since late last year.
Yeah,
Then we have the Ukraine war, which
continuing.
is sucking a lot of our resources here in the U.S. For whether you believe in it or not, I'm not making political comments on that. And
But
then
it's
we
part of
have
the equation for sure. Yeah.
yeah, and then we have the war in the Middle East, which is definitely not costing us, but will be costing us a lot of money because Biden needs to send money to Israel. Israel is in desperate need for money. And the war in Yemen along the Red Sea, shutting down practically an entire port in Israel,
Yeah, that's
due to the Houthis.
tuning up as well, going really beyond Israel. You're hearing of strikes in Yemen and strikes in other countries
Well,
around there.
the impact on Israel. I mean, the whole idea is to shut down the Israeli Red Sea port because
Yeah,
now major freight are declaring they are not going to go through the Red Sea.
sure.
So, because of all these things, Congress is holding money, and they're saying, "You need, money for the war, Mr. President. We need money
For
for
the southern border.
the
Yeah,
southern border."
yeah,
And all of a sudden, they're talking, and
yeah.
we have immigration reform conversations, which multiple outlets. The Wall Street Journal has a wonderful piece that said Biden talks big talk, but when he negotiates, he always settles in the middle. He understands to win negotiations is to move to the center and find a centrist position. And
He does have the reputation as a deal maker sort of guy, for sure. Yeah,
yes, and that is good for being able to make deals, right?
yeah,
So we have a situation here where we might have something perhaps
yeah.
because everybody wants something desperately. One side wants something desperately, the other side wants something else desperately. Neither of these items are related to employment immigration,
Oh yeah.
but employment immigration might be floating to the top by the virtue of the forces going both direction,
Yeah, I want to.
completely unrelated to employment immigration. Break it up, Brian.
Yeah, I want to kind of draw this distinction. So in the past, when we were talking immigration reform, we were talking about, people on the right want, border related security, get a handle on illegal immigration, whereas on the left, politically, it was, paths to green cards for the undocumented, that sort of thing. And that sort of stuff is not really at the forefront of this negotiation. What's kind of the these negotiations are all sort of hush hush and closed door, but really, it's the president and his cronies want money for Israel and Ukraine to keep that spigot open, whereas the people on the right still have their border security things, and it's there's talk back and forth as whether this turns into a comprehensive immigration reform or not. And I think it's very possible they could drive a grand bargain between we get what we want on the border, you get your Israel and Ukraine funding. But bubbling underneath this, there's talk does it become a more comprehensive immigration form or a simple swap on this one issue. And I think it's worth you know talking about what's the potential for that broader immigration reform here.
So to kind of dig a little bit deeper
Sure.
into this, the Republicans and the American public,
Yeah.
they're terrified at the sheer volume of undocumented immigrants flowing to this country
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
This is a clearly something is unprecedented in our American history to deal with that volume of people coming in. World migration is increased. Europe having similar problems. U.S. has similar problems. Australia obviously is immune because they're an island continent, so that is not going to be a problem for them. But the U.S. is on the southern border is seeing massive. I think the administration sent back 450,000 migrants. Deported them or sent them out or
Well, yeah.
apprehended them and left back. These numbers are
Call
unheard
call
of.
that a year. Call that a last since the Biden administration took over. That's still a large number, regardless. Yeah, that's a ton of people. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is massive,
Yeah.
and I will look up here the chart here in a second. I have it on my phone, whether it's last year or since in the last 4 years. But it is a massive number of migrants, illegal migrants coming into the United States.
Yeah.
You were looking at some even uh, legalized people who are legalized under the temporary protective status,
Oh yeah.
without mentioning countries, is in the hundreds of thousands of
Yeah,
people
probably
who are being
yeah, maybe close to closing in on a like 800,000. I think is maybe where it comes down in total. And,
right, and
yeah,
that's a massive number, right?
yeah,
So the Republicans are desperately in need of a commitment to get tough on the border and also to rewrite the asylum laws,
yeah.
because the asylum laws need to be rewritten to discourage people from coming into the U.S.
Oh yes, to get a
Um,
general thing is when you have a pending asylum application, which can take them years to process, you get certain benefits inside the United States, and basically the narrative is they're trying to push that outside of the United States, essentially.
yes,
Yeah,
yes. On the other side, the president of the United States and this administration that has committed to the war in Ukraine have sunk a significant amount of money in American resources and American reputation in support of the Ukraine war, which is, whatever your opinion falls on this, that's the fact.
yeah,
That's where we at now.
yeah,
And now we have also Israel in desperate need of money, and Congress saying, no, we're
yeah,
not sending money. We
yeah,
don't have that kind of money. We cannot do that. Secure the border, you get your money. They're talking about reform as a result.
yeah.
What a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
What a
Well,
wonderful thing.
we will see if it's very again. It's all very hush hush, and we're sort of reading articles that talk about undisclosed sources in negotiations. That sort of thing. That's kind of what we're at. But the question. We know at the highest level, again, money for Israel, money for Ukraine, and border stuff is in the talks there. But the immediate question is when we hear talking about more on immigration reform, we think about broader immigration reform. We think about what's in it for us, those who are in the employment-based community, and there's there was a proposed House bill, around that's been called the Dignity Act of 2023 from midway through last year, which I thought was which we've seen sort of cited in the conversations about the ongoing negotiations, the sort of things that might be appearing in negotiations. And if you go to this bill and you look at that list, you say what's on the list. Cuts the visa backlog to a maximum of 10 years, meaning anyone that's been on the waiting for legal visa for 10 years or more will be provided that visa. Sounds
Well,
pretty neat.
to put it in context, 80%, 80% of the Dignity Act stuff is other than employment
Oh
immigration.
yeah, there's literally in there the sort of things that are coming up in negotiations now. There's
Yeah.
asylum reform.
Yes.
There's just replacing the I-9 system with an electronic system. This one keeps e-verified, but I mean, replacing I-9 system, the employment authorization system, was on the list of House Bill 2, which is what the Republicans' version of this is replacing both of them with a new system. You
Yes,
know?
and then comes in and then throw in employment immigration. Like, and by the way, let's do this
Yeah,
for employment immigration as if it's not the main course.
yeah.
It
But
is
this
definitely,
this a little bit of it.
it's definitely a side dish.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
definitely a side dish. And what you got there, Brian, you got, hey, you're waiting for 10 years, you get a green card. Two, double the per country limitation from
yeah. So
7% to 15%.
yeah,
And here's the big one, which is at the very bottom of that list you're looking at, Brian.
you can see my screen. You know what I'm looking at? I think we're looking at the same document. Is it the
Exactly.
is it the H4?
Decoupling. Decoupling the
Oh yeah, yeah,
family
yeah, yeah,
members.
yeah, yeah.
Decoupling the family members from counting towards the 15%. It was 7% limit. Now it becomes 17%, doubles. And then when you decouple, Brian, you basically doubled it twice. You
Yeah. Oh yeah.
multiplied it by two and a half,
Yeah. So yeah,
approximately.
one individual with four family members coming with him equals one individual equals the same number of visas as a guy with just him or herself
So
coming. So
per my
huge.
calculation, that's increasing the quota for country like India or any other country five folds,
Yeah.
because it's 1 to 2, doubling from 7% to 15%. So that's doubling, one doubling, and then two and a half, which is decoupling the family members.
Yeah.
So
So
so two and a half times two, for me, that if I'm doing the math correct, that's five. So it's multiplied by five folds
sounds
the
great.
the current numbers. Okay, yeah. So
So
that's the Dignity Act. And you know the crazy thing about the Dignity Act, I'm getting consultations with people saying,
yeah, that's one that
people are
hasn't been
saying,
passed.
I need to take, I want representation because I'd like to take advantage of the Dignity Act. People
It's a great name. It's a
love.
great name for a
What
law,
a
for the record.
great name! I got to remember that name,
Yeah.
the Dignity Act. What a fantastic name, because everybody think it has anything under the sun, but it is great. It's
Well,
great if it works. So the
so
Dignity Act is on the table. What else, Brian? We have.
Well, the old Eagle Act is still out there. I don't. I think I'm going to sound like a broken record if I talk about the Eagle Act. It basically has in there has a different kind of recapture provision. Sam, what I want to talk about is I want to get to the number one big tomato of a question.
But
Well,
let's
go.
talk about the Eagle Act for a second.
Yeah, that thing never seems
Uh,
to die.
yeah. So number one, it wipes out the per country limitation.
Yeah, yeah,
It's removed the limits completely. Say, hey, we're not dealing with that.
yeah,
And then the other thing that does that is says, go back and recapture unused prior visas from the prior years
yeah,
and give them back to the people. It belongs to the people. It belongs to the immigrants. You dropped the ball and did not use. I think 250,000 is the count.
yeah.
250,000 green cards. Go back and hand them back to people. So these two provisions are massive, and then wants to create extremely limited timeline, which is an impossible timeline to go to the new one, which is 120 days. It says within 120 days, we're into the new system. We're not wasting time.
Yeah.
We're doing this, and that. So the Eagle Act is very aggressive. I mean, these are the employment
Oh
aspects.
yeah,
Of course, the other stuff are
yeah. Beyond
and it's
our
the
usual
side
interest
course.
for this.
The employment immigration is against the side dish. It is not the main course when it comes to these laws. But Brian, you were saying something before I cut you.
Well, I really kind of want to get into our conversation about how we think it falls either way, because here's why I think this is a very interesting point. The last immigration reform deals we talked about were paths to legalization for the undocumented versus control the border, right? And these things fell apart in the past. And I think we have right now the main bargaining chips are again the border and Ukraine-Israel funding. I think this is a bartering chip that the left wing side wants more than they want the path to legalization, and I think it changes our. Go ahead.
It changes the equation. No, I agree with you 100%. But I want to add to what you're saying is a dynamic that has changed a little bit, which is the public shift on the border.
Yeah,
So there is clearly, and I see it.
I
There's
see it in the people I talk to all the time. Yeah,
yeah, there is people saying, "Are you kidding me? We got to do something, and now.
Yeah.
So Biden is feeling the heat on that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't see the folks on the left getting, pat the legalization for people who've come here illegally and their Israel and Ukraine funding. And one of them goes away. I think it's the legalization path. So that leaves Israel. So maybe that stops the impasse of getting something passed, right? And then for me, this becomes the test of who really has a taste for reform in the backlogs. Because we've talked about this, Sam, and what's always been at the top is one of these huge headline issues, but always bubbling underneath has been what we're super interested in. It's illegal immigration backlogs and fixing those. And these have not really been tested in the public discourse. And we've always seen, be it through all sorts of proposed laws, we get one literally, every 2 or 3 months, that there is sort of a bipartisan taste for these things. And I think this situation could be, this thing is, whatever happens here is not going to go through based upon, employment-based backlogs. But the question is, can it piggyback onto it? And it seems like it's possible because there is bipartisan support. But the only question is, are they willing to make it comprehensive to add this sort of thing on?
Every time I have hope, I'm crushed, Brian. Every time I have hope, I'm crushed.
Well,
Talking about a broken heart to about 50 pieces.
Yeah.
So is this going to break my heart one more time? That's the question.
Well, we don't have any details yet. So basically, we're sitting here reading news headlines, and we're expecting to maybe hear some sort of deal announcement in the next week or so. Is what they've kind of been saying. Saying is my most recent reading of the news. So we'll probably hear something here about some sort of plan, some sort of package. What's in it soon? Because Joe Biden is not giving up on Israel and Ukraine funding, and obviously the Republicans aren't giving up on the border. So if these are the bargaining chips on the table, if we get a deal related to that, it might have a very, very small, legal immigration, component.
Cancel the quota, double the number. Very small line, small line, big impact. Another piece, just digging into the politics and why I am having hope, extremely and cautiously, very cautious hope, is because Biden is behind in the polls.
Mhm.
The Republicans, there is the pro-Trump Republicans and not so pro-Trump Republicans. The Republican Party is divided on Trump. Some people
Very much so, yeah.
love him, and some people don't care for him. Now, if you ask Trump today what he wishes, he probably does not wish to have a deal whatsoever.
Yeah, don't make the other guy look good. Yeah.
Biden can look like a hero if he struck a deal with the Republicans on immigration.
Yeah.
He can do things that can help him both with the war in Ukraine, with the war in the Middle East,
With the voting
getting
public.
funds,
Yeah.
and boosting his
Appeal for those who are concerned about the situation on
and
the
make
southern
him
border.
look like he can deal with the other side.
Yeah.
He can bring America together, and that's what he wants to do. So for him,
So much riding on it.
it's
Yeah.
attractive, right? And if he
Yeah.
can hand over the wall, by the way, there are reports based on my reading, the wall that he's building some parts of the wall already now,
Yeah.
and with that Trump started, so he may look like a hero, and I would like to have him be a hero if he gives us what we need.
Yeah. Yeah. Again,
So, yeah,
for
so
me,
that's my talk about it. I am going to be very cautious, but yeah, I'm hopeful.
yeah, it's going to be an interesting week. Essentially, it is. We've been dealing with the same. For me, the headline for us is we've been dealing for the last several years the same forces at hand in immigration reform, and now there's a different force here. Which, if you can get something passed, it's something that is unilaterally popular could get through. I always wonder though, Sam. We haven't seen the concept of really of reforming the backlog kind of tested in the media talking head marketplace.
I don't think they understand it. I don't think they get it.
I generally agree with that.
I
Nobody.
mean, on a high level, they do. I mean, you'll get an article from Forbes or Wall Street or New York Times,
but it's not going to get on. It's not going to get on the local news, I guess, right?
and no, it's not going to get on the local news. And even if it gets on in the media at the highest level, people are not going to understand it.
Yeah. I could see somebody twisting the headline. Biden allows more legal immigration.
Oh,
You know,
100%. I
you
mean,
know,
on the very extreme anti-immigration media,
yeah,
if you deport 10, they're saying, well, they deported only 10,
yeah.
and he left 3, and so yeah,
Still, it's. I mean, for me, it's a very classic. I guess it's something you can really kind of that it combats that narrative. So these are people who've come to the United States legally. They've gone through the process. They've been waiting for a long time. It's only because of where they were born, that are keeping them in a backlog. And we're trying to make that fair.
yes.
They're already here for the most part. So yeah,
All right, Brian. So we go into the next part or chapter of our presentation.
I think we can go. We can go into the next chapter. We'll be watching the news for the next week, and maybe we'll hear something on this on the idea of reform and a deal by next week. It's the
Yes.
kind of talking point it is. Yeah.
So what we're doing next?
Well, I think we've hit that fabulous part of the presentation where we go ahead and take questions from our audience. I think, as usual, when we bring this up, we sort of have to say that please understand that we only have a snippet of information here, a half sentence or so from the questionnaires, from the questions you send us to understand what your situation is. And I guess what we would say is you really should make a permanent, life-changing immigration-related decision based upon what you hear, during this session, because it does not. We don't know all the details of your case, and that's that. Keep in mind that just by appearing here, you don't create an attorney-client relationship with us. This is not a confidential communication. This is a public forum. So just keep that in mind as we sort of transition to answering some of the questions we have from our people here in the audience.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah.
Let's take the first question.
Yeah. So this one is from Explorer Dreamer. Hi, Sam. This one's for you, Sam. EB2 national interest waiver is given priority. Is that true when compared to existing EB2 pending I-485? I think the question is, do national interest waiver based I-485s move faster than not national interest waiver than single?
I don't believe that. That's
I
impossible.
don't believe that either.
No,
Yeah.
impossible. Right now, by the way, if everybody checking processing time, um, Nebraska Service Center has told us that employment-based immigration is taking 38 and a half months to process, which is ridiculous. And no, it's not taking priority. It cannot take priority.
Yeah, they are legally indistinguishable. They're indistinguishable. They're indistinguishable. They are lacking distinction. They are indistinguishable. The EB2 and national interest waiver, EB2 standard and EB2 national interest waiver cases,
Yes.
and under the law, they're treated identically, and there should
Yeah.
be no reason that they do that.
Yes.
So, going to keep going here. Another couple here from Explorer Dreamer at the beginning, and we don't want to take too much time, but we'll try to answer the questions that they have here. So, EB2, applied in October 2020, EB2, case now in CRP status, case remains pending status. Priority date is current for the last 3 bulletins. No updates. What should I do? Raise service requests, call handlers, raise to White House. For me, all of the above don't hurt, but somebody like Explorer Dreamer, this is the sort of thing where even a guy who's pretty conservative like me says, consider talking to somebody about mandamus action against the government. For you, Explorer Dreamer, based upon these facts, your priority date has not just been current right now for the last 3 months, but it's probably been current multiple times over the course of since October 2020, and multiple times you've been sort of burned on getting a green card out of it. One thing that's not on your list is simply contacting USCIS, sending a letter to the office where your case is at by saying, just a little knock saying, "Hello, my priority date's been current is current. Please adjudicate my case." It's not impossible that would work and potentially kick it loose, but anything and everything. Be a squeaky wheel, because squeaky wheels get the metaphorical grease.
Absolutely. I agree.
So, another one from Explorer Dreamer. He's got one or two more, but this is my favorite kind of question here about EB1C. So my friend managed people overseas in the last 4 years, and my friend company lawyers are not applying for EB1C. Lawyers saying they have an internal policy to not apply for some individual contributors. even though the title is not manager, she was managing 4 to 5 resources overseas. Had approved company lawyers. She was in a functional manager in EB1C capacity. So fundamentally, I guess, well, Sam, I'll talk forever if you allow me to do so.
Go for it, Brian.
All right, all right. I'll make sure. I'll twist your arm and make sure you take the next one. For me, the bottom line for this is EB1C requires an employer to agree to do the case and sponsor it. And no matter what, basically those are the ones that make the call. I don't really know the details of this case, but honestly, their answer, your employer's counsel might not be exactly truthful. It may come from the employer that we just don't want to do this case. There could be any number of reasons, but it's honestly, if when they say no, it's really kind of hard to make them say yes. In my book, it really has to be something that they want to do. For me, the best documentation of the world. I mean, I understand what you're saying here. The company's saying they were an individual contributor, but I think you might have a narrative issue. Typically somebody who does an EB1C case you would typically come to the U.S. on an L1 visa. If your friend didn't come to the U.S. on an L1 visa, for me, that's something where the narrative might be a bit much for your employer's counsel to deal with, having to basically say, to re-argue, to revisit those facts again and basically say, this person has been a manager this entire time or always was a manager. If the previous record of, say, this individual's H-1B cases haven't reflected that they were a manager abroad, that could be something that people just don't want to tangle with. It could be a very challenging uphill battle, I guess, in that case.
Just to add to Brian, very good answer is you don't have to, if you convince the lawyer will convince USCIS. The lawyer, convincing him or her is really meeting the standard. And it is not about argument, it's about listed documentation. Listed documentation that you can show the day-to-day activities of that person. And we live in a world of electronic documentation. We don't even say good morning to each other. We email each other to say good morning. So everything we do is documented. Is either documented by text, documented by email, documented by letters. That's the world we live in. Documented by contracts, documented by meeting minutes, and the attorney is going to tell you what they need based on their knowledge of the case, specific case. We don't know what this case is, so we cannot really dive into it. They're going to say, I need this, this, and that. What I normally do, what Brian does, is we tell people I'm going to come out with one list. I'm going to come out with a secondary list later.
Yeah.
Why? Because when I give you my list and you give me 75% of what I ask, which because usually my list is too expansive and too detailed, some of the stuff may not relate or you may not have. And once I get what you give me, I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to generate my secondary list that says
literally what I say in my email. Consider this a first request. We're going to have more questions. We're going to see things in there that might suggest, hey, there's some good evidence there. We're going to pull that string and ask you for that stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's how you work with your lawyer. You don't convince, and I apologize, my normal sensor turns off, but I think the lights look good, right?
You're fine, Sam. I'm not phased. I'm not phased. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. So basically, you work with your attorney. You don't convince your attorney. You work with your attorney. Yeah. That's basically the relationship you should have with your lawyer to build a case. It's a give and take. It's a two-way street. Yeah. So that's really the better answer. The complete answer to how you convince your lawyer. You work with your lawyer. You it's a team. We work together.
Yeah. That's a fair answer in my book. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to move on to AK Srivastava's question here.
All right. I am eligible for I-765 EAD renewal online while my I-45 pending. Okay. My EAD is expiring in August of 2024. All right. I entered the U.S. based on I-131 in December of 2022, applied for an H-1B extension and get approved till August 2026. Okay.
Well,
So where's
that's the question. I think the question is you said is I am eligible. He's asking
am I
is
eligible for EAD?
yeah,
I
yeah,
see. There's no. Oh, yeah.
yeah,
There's a question mark for EAD renewal online. Yeah, always you're eligible for EAD renewal. Doesn't matter the I-485. If you are on pending I-485, it doesn't matter how you enter the United States and how what status you're on. You're eligible to receive an EAD. Now you can receive the EAD, and as we've stated before, if you just put it in the drawer or use it for ID, use it for to get a driver's license or apply for anything, that's the perfect use of the EAD without stepping out of your H-1B.
yeah.
But once you work on your EAD, use your EAD for employment, then you're no longer on H-1B. But whether on your H-1B, you came on advanced parole, all these facts are relevant, good information. Thanks for sharing it. But the bottom line, you have a valid I-485. You are eligible for EAD. 6 months, file 106 months before it expires.
Yeah.
And Brian, you're thinking about something.
Well,
That's
yeah,
a
I
make
am.
your case.
You can see me as I just
Yeah.
gesturing around like this. I'm staring at my computer screen. So I realize the question is, am I eligible for I-765 EAD renewal
Online.
online?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are certain categories in which they allow you to file for your EAD, I-485 based EAD online, and I don't believe the I-4 that so. USCIS changes these things all the time, but I'm looking at the USCIS website right now for the online filings, and C9, look at your EAD, look at your existing EADs, your green card pending EADs. They're going to say C9 on them. That's the category for which you're applying. And C9 does not appear to be on the list of online filings for EADs, unless they've made an announcement very recently. It is. I'm looking on their forms to file online under I-765. There's all different categories. C9 is not on that list.
Um, so, um, so I don't like online filing with
Oh,
US
me either. Me either.
because you enter a maze of illogical uh, puzzles, and puzzles and being illogical are equal a nightmare.
Government
Uh, you
government
know,
online forms are problematic for me because they're very hard to keep a good record of what you did, which is essentially.
I wouldn't say government. I would say USCIS. IRS maybe have a good system. Maybe other agencies have good system. The USCIS has a lousy online system. Their
Yeah,
online system is similar to the agency, broken.
yeah,
Because if you're going to open I-765 online, okay, you must accept all I-765. To create exception where you can not take a form but you can take another form is a nightmare. It's absurdity because now you can make an error and lose
well,
your EAD.
well, yeah. I mean, one of the a great source of business for us attorneys is when people come to us. I literally had a consultation on Friday. It's they didn't understand something about a process and got a case denied because of it because they didn't understand a legal
Yeah.
requirement.
So
Making these processes the same are always just too complicated for most people. It's the
just
reason why we have a job, but
their
yeah,
their their online system is broke. Stay away from it. That's my just throwing a stamp on it.
yeah.
Pay $10 for a FedEx and follow the paper trail. They can do it online.
Sam, you know what's something we're definitely going to have to talk about. Speaking of online filing systems, it's the change to H-1B online filing systems this
That's
fall.
something that we may be having forced to do it because there are certain benefits that flows to the employer,
Sure.
which is saving a day or two, and that's something that we
Oh yeah.
will deal with.
Get your case filed at the same day the LCA's in, or instead of having to wait a day to
I'm not,
get it
you know,
there. But
I'm looking forward to the benefits of gaining a day or two. What I'm not looking forward to is the electronic glitches
yeah.
that you think you filed the case, but you didn't file a case and all that crazy
Yeah,
stuff.
we use the H. We're forced to use the H-1B online registration portal. It's a bit of a mess, and let alone the USCIS, the attorney accounts or the user accounts for USCIS. Those things are an absolute mess. They do not
And
work very
I can
well.
guarantee you they're not prepared to for the volume that they are going to see.
Oh yeah,
And
it
that's
sounds like a
another
great way to break a website. Yeah,
exactly. So
yeah.
it's going to be a lot of challenges. But AK Srinivastava
Yeah.
has another question. I think one. There's a
Yes.
one, so there must be a two.
Yeah. Currently working on H-1B. Can we move to another state if AP and EAD is pending and switch the H-1B job only?
So, okay, so you're currently working on H1B, and you want to move to another state, which is fine. And then obviously you're aware that moving to another state requires an amended H1B
H-1B
petition
one.
if you want to remain on H1B.
Yeah.
Now, can you utilize the employment authorization document, not the AP, but since they're together, I think you're referring to them together because you're combining them in one card. But you can definitely be switched to employment authorization document and forgo the H1B
Yeah.
if you do not want to file an amended petition.
Yeah.
Yes, it can be done. You probably need to talk to an attorney a little bit at the ramification, the pros and cons vis-a-vis your situation.
Yeah. So this goes to why it's always such a good idea to speak to an attorney for a long time, specifically about your issues, because I interpret AK Service Status question very differently. I'm seeing the question is about what happens if my AP and EAD are pending and I move, essentially. And for me, that's when I go to my old reliable Sam, sir, what is your obligation to notify USCIS regarding your changes of address?
Oh yeah, that's number one, right,
Yeah,
Brian?
yeah. It's let USCIS know about anybody who is not a U.S. citizen is required to notify USCIS of a change of address within 10 days of doing so. It's so important that Sam and I and everybody else in the office have it highlighted in our email signature, just in the hopes, and then we catch one person every now and again and remind them to do it. And when you do that change of address, you will also, they will ask you about, do you have any cases in processing with USCIS? And you'll type in the receipt numbers for your AP and your EAD, and you will update them on that as well. And when you're moving, though, if you file these things with counsel, keep in contact with them and let them know, because I don't 100% trust USCIS's ability to update your addresses on pending cases. And keep an eye on the case status online on those things, because if you miss an RFE or see the case has been approved, and meaning your EAD is going somewhere and you don't get your EAD, it could mean they're at the old address, because basically the narrative we've heard before is, oh, I updated my address and then they approved the case, and that updated address didn't hit the case in time, something like that.
One more layer to this, Brian,
Yeah.
is the H1B has a portability provision that allows you to continue working while the H1B is pending.
Mhm.
The EAD does not have that. So if your old EAD expires
Yeah.
while the new EAD is still pending, you must stop working.
Well, you get the automatic extension though on back. I think it's back to 180 days on the green card EAD. But
Yes.
yeah, if you let the EAD expire before you file that, but you're entirely right though. You don't
Exactly.
Yeah.
So remember those things.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So let's see what we got here from Naren Baktha. I have a pending 45 EB3 India, and my priority date is current in the February visa bulletin. Congratulations. Should I interfile medicals now or wait until USCIS sends a medical RFE? Well, as I would first say, as illustrated by one of our previous questions, your priority date can be current for a while, and USCIS doesn't necessarily do anything. So I think I'm at a point where I am, advocating for people to be a little bit more active in their actions. Would you agree, Sam?
Yes, notwithstanding USCIS's most recent recommendation not to interfile.
Yeah.
So USCIS does not want you to do that because they cannot guarantee that it's going to go anywhere. So if you have an additional duplicate copy of it and you can keep it in a safe place, and you can interfile it now
And have a
and
copy available for the RFE. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
that might be the prudent thing to
Yeah.
do.
I agree with you, Sam. I think if you can interfile comfortably, knowing that they may lose your medical exams, you can do it. It definitely doesn't hurt to send them a note saying, hey, I noticed my priority date's current. I also noticed my medical exams are out of date. Well, here's a reminder of my case is current, and here's my medical exams. Please do the needful.
Yep.
Well, Sam, here's a question that's sort of on point as to what we were discussing earlier. Do you think they will include 11 million in the text for immigration reform? What 11 million do you think that refers to, sir?
Um, include 11 million in the text of them. I don't know. Does
I
that give you?
I thought it might refer to the number of undocumented individuals in the United States. That's kind of an estimate. That's isn't that kind of within the realm of the estimate that's out there?
Oh, I think it's more than that, right?
Well, let's race to Google, Sam, and see this,
Yeah.
how many undocumented immigrants
Let's search it.
immigrants in the United States. Well, 2018. This is just for the first Google result. A 2018 paper by some Yale people said 16 to 20 to 29 million. So perhaps a bit longer, a bit more than that. So interesting.
Um, so it'll be interesting, but I don't think it's a legalization. So it's a flat legalization. I think it's a
I think that is
protection of
so.
the border. And there's no way the
I think that is
Republicans will
so
do it.
distasteful to the Republicans, and I think basically having the again, my position earlier was having Ukraine and Israel on the table gives something they want more than that right now. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be a lot more because that's basically giving the Democrats
Hey,
so much.
yeah.
I'm not sure even all Democrats want. Ultimately, these people probably going to be legalized. I mean, maybe DACA maybe the DACA people are 11 million.
Yeah,
What's the count?
legalization's
What's the count on DACA?
uh, that's a great question. How many individuals on DACA
Half a
in the
million.
US? Half a million? Yeah,
Mhm.
580,000. That's the estimate per
Mhm.
USCIS. So, I guess those are the most sympathetic ones. I guess in the
Well,
eyes of
no,
in the eyes.
nobody. I mean, nobody. The truth, nobody knows the question, but I think he's referring to all the undocumented in the country, and
Yeah,
I don't think so. I don't know, but I don't think so.
yeah.
That's
I
probably
think
my
that's
answer.
a tough sell to a lot of people for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. A question here from Raul.
My AP renewal application is pending uh, since the past 7 months. Texas Service Center, 18 months normal time. Okay. And my EAD renewal is coming up soon. Can I reapply for AP renewal again along with the EAD? I would, yeah, I would do that. It's for free. That's number one.
Cost of your
Hopefully you can
time
get 5 years.
in a FedEx, Yeah.
Yes, yes. And so, yeah, I would do it.
Uh,
They
I
may not
just
like it, but I would do it.
Yeah, I would. So there's a reasonable chance, Raul. I'll tell you the worst case scenario in my book. One, they can reject the case. I don't think they're likely to do that. I think there's
They're
a
going to
reasonable
reject it. They're
chance.
going to issue an RFE.
Yeah, I think there's a chance they might deny the case due to already having one in progress. Or they could issue an RFE saying, well, which one do you want? But man, 7 months for an AP document is really just quite fun.
18
Let's
months
say.
normal time, Brian.
Oh! I haven't even gotten to that part, Sam, because I'm here and now I'm going to be up here because that's just really a fun amount of
That's
time.
insanity. Yeah, that's unheard of. I mean, these numbers are unheard of. I mean,
It
talk about a broken agency. I mean, this agency has fallen apart.
what is the
I've
point?
never seen anything like this in 30 years.
What is the point? What is the point of having an advanced parole travel authorization if you can't travel if you need it?
Year and a half.
Yeah, year and a half. It used to be just a couple years ago, about maybe a year ago, we could say, oh, file early. You'll file 6 months out. You'll probably have it in time. A year and a half. It's
What the
worthless.
heck?
You have to wait for somebody to die in order to
This
get an
is the United
emergency
States of
document.
America.
Yeah. Well, we have our problems. That's for sure. Gonna keep it moving here with Peter Smith.
I mean, they cannot even resolve it by receiving more money. I mean, half of these people will pay more money.
Yeah.
Premium process, man.
I wish we could do like live polls here, but I mean, I think if you asked Raul here, Raul, would you pay them $500 to get an EAD immediately? Sure. I bet everybody would.
And it takes
I'd rather
what?
have.
It takes what? 25 minutes to do one of these?
Oh yeah, I never looked at the process, but yeah, they publish what their guesstimates are, and
Yeah,
it's
it's
not that long.
ridiculously. I mean, yeah. So they're gonna be making about $500 a minute or something on these. Maybe that's an exaggeration. Maybe $150 a minute or something
Yeah.
to get it done, and they cannot still do it.
Yeah, I think that's just to really underlines the point. I think there's so many people out there who said, I don't care about free AP filing fees. Just give me my AP. I'll pay you. I'll pay you. If it was a bidding war
Well,
to move your
yeah.
case to the top of the line, I think the government would be very 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 happy to would be very happy with the money they'd be making off that.
Yep.
And fundamentally, it irritates me that immigration for them is a profitable venture. It seems un-American to me, or very American. I'm not quite sure.
I'm stuck in a case that remains pending, although I have been current since January 1st, 2024. Okay, well, that's not too long ago in the scale of time that we've been
Yeah,
talking about a moment ago.
yeah,
Priority is August 2022, EB2, rest of the world, and filed I-45 in January 2023. Well, yeah, of course, January 2023. What do you expect? Processing time, we just 38 months in Nebraska? We
yeah.
never
I
looked
mean,
at it?
I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, and maybe say, well, what happens if you're looking at a local field office? But even if somebody, if this was like a family-based adjustment that would end up in the Columbus, Ohio, where we are, our region field office, I would still say you're still
It's about
probably too
18
early.
months.
Yeah, it's
It's
about
probably 18.
yeah about I usually say 12 to 16 months here in Columbus for family-based green card, and that's for any green card. They're not going to process a green card for much more than
Yeah,
about
but
a
this is
year.
not family. This is employment based,
Well,
Brian.
yeah, still, I just no matter what, Sam, are they generally speaking, are they going to process any I-45 in under a year? Yeah, that's kind of it for me. It's relatively rare that they process any green card application in under a year. Is my bottom line. So I think I don't, Peter. Sending a letter to USCIS, perfectly fine idea, but I think in terms of if you go to the USCIS website and you go to their sort of case processing time page, you can literally put in your receipt date and they'll tell you whether or not they think your case is beyond normal processing times, and they'll tell you they don't even want to take an inquiry. And if somebody asked about a mandamus action on this, I would say no. Would be my humble take on it. I definitely sympathize that you'd like to see your green card approved, and they should be able to do it now. But sending that letter to USCIS is really kind of the as much as somebody in this scenario is what I'd be really interested in doing for them right now.
So the service centers are giving 9 months to 12 months. I mean, the local offices
Yeah,
for the employment based adjustment.
yeah.
Um, but I think this is a rigged dates. These are not
Oh,
real dates.
I don't trust. I was just having a conversation with somebody today. I don't trust those dates on the USCIS. Again, these are the 80% of cases numbers as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
In California, claim to be able to do it in 19 and a half months, whereas
yeah,
Nebraska is doing it for 38 and a half months.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would this Peter sort of follow up. How long does I-45 approval take after becoming current when someone is in case remains pending? And
You got that date. You got that timeline. You got to figure that timeline from the date of filing.
yeah, you are in kind of interesting territory. You're obviously, it looks like you filed your case and essentially it retrogressed probably shortly after he filed. And the answer is it's historically, a couple of years ago, we would send, when somebody's priority did became current, we'd send a letter, and typically they'd get to it in a month or two. This different world we're living in
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
I think my general thing is squeaky wheel. Still, it can be your fun personal hobby to send them a letter, once a month to ask them about that sort of
A
thing
writ
too.
of mandamus, I mean, you can suffer or you can file a writ of mandamus in court, and usually things will move.
Do you think a writ of mandamus is appropriate here, Sam, or case file
Yeah, because the processing timeline is completely ridiculous.
well, so I'll argue the other side. I'll argue with you
So,
there.
so it's 1 year now.
It's been processing more than 6 months,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that you can make a plausible
yeah,
straight face case for that.
100%.
Now, I'll
Well,
give you.
you can wait another year and a half, or you can file a writ of mandamus. If you can file a writ of mandamus, you have, from prior experience, 70-80% chance or more
Yeah,
of getting it early, or you can just wait another year to a year and a half.
the cool thing about writs of mandamus is, the worst case is they say no, we're not going to move it faster. We're going to
Yeah,
take our
just go in
sweet
front of
time.
a judge and see what the judge says.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
I have no problem with that.
yeah. Okay. So, Prem US vlogs. So this is a great one. One that's been plaguing. Well, I think there's reasonable answers to it. Why does EB3 India dates ahead of EB2? Sam, doesn't USCIS know an EB2 candidate can downgrade to EB3 and travel on both lanes? And what's your take, Sam?
Well, not every EB2 can go down to EB3.
Kind of have a supporting employer, right?
Yes, I
Yeah,
mean that's number one. And people are tired of this. That's part of the problem, right?
yeah,
And with the project being backlogged, people now cannot easily move as they used to because you have to be current to file
current. That's a
another
good point.
adjustment.
Yeah,
So it's the dates are locked, and backlogged, and with that back and forth movement, people jumping on the EB2 and then jumping back on the EB3, and then and
yeah.
so forth. Basically, more people who are experienced. You know,
I guess I would say USCIS does know if you just do a Google search for employment-based adjustment of status FAQs. Their last updated, I think, in like maybe September or October on this issue. They said, "Oh yeah, we are aware that when it comes to going through the visas, we are aware that certain people have multiple green card cases going, and that's taken into account in terms of the data we give. I think they say the data we give to the Department of State. So they're very much aware of it. They think they have a very good handle on all of this.
right? What a
Yeah,
joke!
yeah.
They
It
do not
does.
have a good handle on
It
it.
does seem very strange that in the category where there's less visas available for India, or more people can qualify for it, it's still ahead. It's very, very strange.
But it has been for a while.
Yeah, I know, and it's been very strange for a while in my book.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it has been for a while. And also, EB3 does not get the benefit of any cross flow
yeah.
um, necessarily because of EB1 flows down to EB2, and EB2 sucks everything EB1 has. So it doesn't. Nothing goes down to EB3.
Yeah,
That
I guess maybe for the folks in the EB2 world who are perhaps stuck there and are wondering, well, what did I do to be stuck in the higher category that's still behind the lower one? Um, Things still look favorable. For rest of the world is current on EB1, meaning there's flow across to everybody else for EB1. If everybody else is current at EB1, there becomes the potential for roll down to EB2, and that's really kind of the best bet for that. I mean, fundamentally, I figure there has to be more crossover from the rest of the world. It's actually rest of the world is not current on EB2. Rest of the world is not current anywhere. I guess my thought is EB2 is a more exclusive category, right? And sooner or later, I think for the rest of the world, EB2 is ahead of EB3. But I'm going to pull up my visa bulletin here to
March 2012 and July 2012, which is 3 months. I will also add a similar problem in China.
yeah.
Um, um, uh, EB3
Yeah. So I'm looking at
is
February
ahead.
visa bulletin. EB2 for rest of the world is in November 2022, whereas EB3 is in September 2022. I guess a silver lining for those in EB2 who are jealous is it seems like EB2 rest of the world will become current before EB3 rest of the world, meaning there'd be cross flow into these backlog categories sooner than EB3. He said optimistically. You know.
It's yeah. And then the difference. I mean, the reality of the matter is the difference between March and July isn't that significant. And
Yeah.
and and the fact that I mean, because it's a relative thing. So 12 2012 is 12 years back.
Yeah.
Uh, it doesn't matter whether it's March or July, it's 12 years back. So 12-year back plus 2 months, or 12 years back less 2 months, by percentage, it's the same.
I disagree, Sam, because I would bet there's somebody in our audience with it is in the large scale. Yes, it's substantially the same. But somewhere at right now, there's a guy or gal with a priority date in of EB2 of June of 2012, and who's just banging their head against the wall, looking at those EB3 dates, knowing that their
Right.
employer won't support a downgrade, for example.
Yes,
You know.
but these dates are not based on backlog, is based on the last case priority date that they
That is
have,
true. Yeah, that is true.
et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's not that straightforward, but the difference is not that significant.
yeah,
We're talking
yeah,
differences.
yeah.
It's what by percentage, 5% different.
Yeah. So keep it going. A nice thank you from Explorer Dreamer, who's a frequent viewer, and
Oh,
we
thank you. We appreciate it.
always appreciate when people come back and say hi to us, and even those who we hear get their green card and come back and say hello for an immigration question. That's always pleasant to see as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So from Prem US Vlogs, how long do I need to wait after sent a service request to for I-131? Mine is outside the normal processing times. Does the USCIS website show any update about the service request? I have an exact answer for you on this one. So that very same USCIS website that says, tell me the processing times for, I-131 filed at this service center, etc. Scroll down that same page. There's a little tool down there that says, hey, type in your receipt date. We'll tell you whether or not we will take a service request on this. And you will probably find that even if your case is just outside the posted, say 18 months normal processing time for AP, that they may not be willing to take a service request for even longer. This is something that we were tracking for a while back when they changed this new system, the new tool for tracking processing times, the whole 80% one. And we are seeing interesting results on when you can put a service inquiry in, flip-flopping back and forth.
Even so, what they're telling you, even if we handle 80% of the cases,
Yeah.
and 20% of the cases we haven't handled, you don't get to tell us where the hell my case is.
Yeah.
That's what they're telling you.
Yeah. This is again having a flashback, but we're kind of irritated. This is the least useful information.
It's the worst change they've made.
Yeah, people in immigration, people get so frustrated about lack of information, and what non-information is that 80%. I don't care when you get to 80% of cases, and I care telling me when you're going to get to my case. I think people would be incredibly happy, Sam, if there was a first in, first out queue, and you could just say, "Oh, I'm number 1 of 10,000." At least I would know.
It's all designed to do one thing and one thing only: hide the facts.
Yeah.
Confuse people.
Yep.
And not give information.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
Yeah.
That's what the 80% does. It hides the processing time. It gives you loopy information that's completely not helpful.
Yep. I fully agree.
Yep.
Yeah. So the question here, Sam, from next Fatah.
I'm a U.S. citizen and my spouse is on F1 visa. Okay. We have not applied for a green card yet. She can travel outside the U.S. at this point. I heard opinions of being denied entry to the U.S. upon arrival. Well, if they follow the law, it depends. So if her intent to enter the United States and at a certain time convert to a marriage-based petition, then she has an immigrant intent. And if she has or he has an immigrant intent, the spouse has an immigrant intent, then yes, you or that person will be is likely to be denied or at risk of being denied. Correct. I don't recommend traveling and re-entering if the person is married to a U.S. citizen without filing the adjustment of status green
and
card.
getting an advanced parole most importantly, because if you travel without an advanced parole,
Yes.
you will likely be without a way to come back. Yeah, which honestly that's a conversation to really sooner or later. It sounds like this person's going to be talking to counsel, figuring out how to file a family-based green card, and that's the sort of questions they would answer when they talk about that. Really.
Yes. We talk to people on their family applications all the time, and they're trying to travel, and we just say, if you're coming here with intent to eventually switch, then it's going to be an issue. And also, if you apply within 60 days of entry to the U.S., there's a presumption of fraud. So I wouldn't leave the country.
Yeah, that's a rule that's flipping and flopping. It was 60 days, it went to 90 days, but maybe that's off of USCIS's books. But still, if you do anything, you do,
You gotta follow the 60-day, Brian, because it has been on the books.
I know
for decades.
It's not on the books right now, but it's still in their heads. That I know. Yeah, they evaluate everything, and
I don't know removing it altogether is good or not, because
then you have no standards.
Yeah, nothing to refer to. So they may presume fraud 70 days now.
Oh yeah,
120 days, 150 days. Before you know it, 60 days and you're done.
Yeah.
Now it's confusing. So yes,
Yeah.
but we help a lot of people with this family immigration stuff, and I wouldn't recommend that she enters the United States or leave and come back on F1 if she's
Yeah.
married to a U.S. citizen, if she has the intent to adjust her status later,
Yeah.
which
Um,
most likely, or he or she. I keep making the mistake of saying he
yeah.
or she,
Yeah.
the F1 spouse.
Yeah, well, we're coming up in the end of the hour, but we'll take a couple more questions here to sort of just round these things out. And I think a really interesting one on a topic we don't really
Mhm.
hit so much. Well, it's a hi Sam, so I'm going to defer to you, but I'll ask the question on behalf of this person. I'm
Sure.
currently on compelling EAD. I imagine that's compelling circumstances EAD. My company is planning to file O visa. Can I switch to O visa inside the U.S. or do I need to go for stamping?
It sounds like you're gonna need stamping, my friend.
Yeah,
Compelling EAD is wonderful. EAD to have under the circumstances, and normally I would have loved. I don't know how long you've been on compelling EAD. I would have
yeah,
loved for you to file a B visa change of status
yeah,
along with the compelling EAD, because if that's the case, but because you worked on the EAD, then that B visa change of status no longer
yeah,
valid.
yeah,
So yes, the short answer, you will have to leave the country and come back after you are stamped,
yeah.
which you can time it if
Yeah.
the O visa is approved.
Yeah, that's literally the question. Can they file H-1B for consular processing? Yes, certainly. That is how most people get that. If they're coming to the United States for the first time and they're coming on an O visa, they're doing that case is sent to the consulate. You apply for an O visa at the consulate, for the first time, for
Follow
sure.
up question: can O visa be applied
Yeah,
for consular processing outside the United States like
yeah,
H-1B? Yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a simple answer. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's maybe take this. Will this be our last one, Sam?
Sure.
Okay. So, sort of a follow up there from the same individuals asking about their F1 spouse. I'm a U.S. citizen, and if my spouse is an F1 visa holder, we live in different states due to her college and my career. Will this be a problem?
Generally, no. I jumped in before you answered, Brian, because you're going to say the other. Maybe no.
I am nothing but a contrarian. You know this about me.
Yeah. No, I don't see that a problem. It all depends on evidence of bona fide marriage.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I always say, and I've always seen it um, to be approved if the physical separation is due to career advancement, especially college, or a really great job. You're a professional, you get a great job opportunity, and your spouse has a great job opportunity elsewhere. Now, if the F1 visa holder living in another state because of college, and you live in a different state, but you are doing remote work, yeah, that's a problem because there's no reason. But maybe you're doing remote work, but you live in a house that you couldn't sell, then I can explain it. So it's
Yeah,
all fact driven. I don't have
yeah.
a problem with the separation as long as it all fits together.
For
Right.
me, the facts I would want here, if truly you're stuck in a situation where one person is stuck at college, one person is stuck in their career in another state, I would say, well, are you traveling to see each other all the time? Can you produce for me, flight records or anything that shows? I mean, tons of photos, date stamp photos that show you're in the same place, frequently. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
But again, the sentiment for me is the exact same. Very, very fact specific.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So 7:04, Sam. I'd say we wrap this up and we say everybody we're going to be back here as we always are Mondays at 6 p.m. We will see you.